Hello and welcome back to another Oofy Lore video. Today I'll be diving into the depths of the Honkai universe, exploring its structure, and how it intertwines with the worlds of Star Rail within the Honkai universe. That being said, a lot of this is speculation and theories compiled from the games and wiki. The theories in this video are not indicative of the final product and always subject to change. I recently unearthed some revelations that I believe will clarify the complex nature of this universe, and I'm so excited to share them with you. So without further waiting, let's explore this vast universe of Honkai. Let's start with the imaginary tree, which is introduced as a mere theory in Star Rail, but let me assure you, it's more than just a theory. It's a Honkai theory! No, just kidding, but it's actually the fundamental framework of the Honkai universe, often referred to as the Honkai-Verse. This concept explores the idea that time creates multiple branches or timelines, each stemming from specific pivotal moments. Imagine flipping a coin. It can result in two outcomes, heads or tails, each representing a separate branch. Over time, these seemingly minor differences can lead to vastly distinct developments. For example, think of a coin flip determining all the money you'd ever have. Whether you win or lose could drastically alter your life and, consequently, the entire world. These branches culminate in a leaf, representing the current state of each world. You can kind of think of each leaf as its own civilization. Another theory, showcased in the side mission The Trees at Peace, paints a different perspective on the imaginary tree. It's a brief mention by yet another unreliable narrator, but it spices things up a bit. In this mission, we get a glimpse into the thoughts of Chadwick, an ex-Genius Society member we assist along the way. His interpretation of the tree is rather interesting, and actually makes a lot more sense when applying it to Star Rail, Honkai, and Genshin. Instead of envisioning one colossal tree perpetually sprouting new worlds, he sees each world as a seed, birthing its own unique tree. It's like imagining the universe as a sprawling forest of trees. Chadwick still credits Xandar with the Star Rail theory of the imaginary tree, but his viewpoint is more, well, depressing. There's no singular caretaker tree overseeing everything. Rather, each world must fend for itself, growing independently. In a sense, it's a journey through the forest, hopping from tree to explore the vast expanse of possibilities. I personally really enjoy this theory, and I think it weighs pretty heavy as far as theories go. It makes a lot of sense considering each game revolves around a singular world tree as the basis of that world's lore. Another theory is that everything within the Honkai universe is predestined, and every world is subject to a life cycle that repeats over and over again, kinda comparable to a samsara, and the worlds on the imaginary tree must abide by this natural law or face extinction. However, some authority holders have tried to go against this natural law and obtain authority of worlds not belonging to them in order to acquire immense powers to become a godlike entity, and by doing so, obtain authority over multiple proper worlds. So what is authority? The authority of a world refers to the power, control, or influence that governs its laws, rules, and structures. It encompasses the entities, whether individuals, groups, or cosmic forces, that hold sway over the decisions, outcomes, and direction of that world. And this authority can be vested in various forms, such as deities, cosmic entities, or natural laws, depending on the context of the world in question. And it's essential to note that the term world here isn't synonymous with a planet, rather it encompasses entire solar systems, as we can see with Honkai Impact 3's recent storylines. In recent chapters of Honkai Impact 3, we journey from Earth to Venus and then onto Mars with only a spaceship. It is only when trying to leave the solar system and its authority is when we are unable to leave, but when entering the Sea of Quanta or the Stigma space, are we able to traverse different worlds. In Honkai Impact 3, the Stigma space refers to a dimension where Honkai energy is concentrated, creating a space where special abilities can be activated. It's like a unique battleground where characters can tap into their powers and fight against various threats. Think of it as a pocket dimension, where the rules of reality are different, allowing for some battles and intense confrontations between characters and enemies. Another way to leave your proper world is by tapping into the imaginary tree and its power. In Honkai Star Rail, the Nameless used the Astral Express and its special imaginary power that we were able to warp to other worlds and solar systems. Most of these worlds are unique and different, but in Honkai Impact 3rd, we are able to observe and sometimes visit bubble worlds. Bubble worlds are not to be confused with proper worlds, like that of Star Rail. These worlds are not parallel universes, but diverse versions of the timeline created by choices and events. And some bubble worlds are created by authority holders like Saw. These worlds are unstable, and when dying, they sink into the Sea of Quanta to fragment and die. Certain people with certain authority is able to traverse between proper worlds and bubble worlds without a vehicle, like Sue, Mistalin, and Saw, while others need to use science and technology, along with the powers from the imaginary tree or Sea of Quanta, to leave their world's boundary. Let's take Welt as an example. He originates from the world where Honkai Impact 3rd unfolds. Circumstances, which I talked about in my Welt video, led him outside his world and eventually onto the Astral Express. While there's a Himiko in the Honkai Impact 3rd world, the one we encounter in Star Rail is not the same. The same can be said for the myriad of Raiden Meis and Sakuras. The multitude of Himikos exist because all these branches originate from the same trunk, or perhaps because Star Rail Himiko's world is closely connected to the Honkai Impact's world on the tree. In essence, Honkai Impact's world, Star Rail's diverse worlds, and even Genshin's Tevat are all unique leaves on the imaginary tree. They coexist within the same universe, as this tree symbolizes the underlying system of the entire Honkai-Verse. And the existence of this multiverse is acknowledged in these games, but it exists beyond the tree's confines. Games like Gun Girl Z exist on a separate universe, distinct from Honkai Impact 3rd, Star Rail, and Genshin. I guess you could also put Tears of Themis in there too. I found it super neat that in the Star Rail livestream, It's Always Night in Pinaconi, they mentioned the livestream itself takes place in a world where Pinaconi actually exists, like a world similar to ours in real life, similar to our reality, and differentiates between their Pinaconi and the Pinaconi in-game. Ever wonder why characters like Raiden Shogun, Yaemiko, and Venti in Genshin Impact are referred to as Honkai XPs or variants? The explanation lies in the fact that these characters would have existed on an earlier point of the tree, preceding the separation of Honkai Impact and Genshin Impact's worlds. The same concept applies to Star Rail's Himiko, Bronya, Seelade, and a bunch of others. The concept may be intricate, so here's my representation of the imaginary tree. And the world's positioning is arbitrary, it's just for the graphic. You can observe how, through countless split points, a single original point gives birth to an infinite number of worlds, all coexisting within the same universe, represented by this tree. The tree exists in imaginary space, a different dimension, which explains why Welt's imaginary element uses a tree as its icon. And the space between worlds on the tree is known as the Sea of Quanta, a void that also contains numerous bubble worlds. Now let's address a point of contention: whether the planets in Star Rail exist within the same galaxy or are indeed different worlds. Evidence in the game suggests the latter. Himiko's dialogue about the Astral Express is pretty significant. She mentions that the Express was built by Akavili to transport them across different worlds, and it lacks records of other similar tools. One might argue that she refers to standard spaceships for planetary travel, but the Herta space station, with its spacecraft dock and NPC dialogues about space exploration, demonstrates that space travel is common and feasible. The databank's entry on interstellar travel further confirms this point. You may wonder how factions like the IPC and Genius Society travel between different planets. Himiko clarifies that these factions possess the means to travel between worlds due to the encounters with the Aeons. Emanators can manipulate imaginary energy, granting them the power to traverse the imaginary realms between worlds. Akavili's purpose in creating the Astral Express was to find the endpoint of the imaginary tree, and it was built for precisely that task, traveling between worlds, not merely planets. Himiko's usage of the term galaxy in her dialogue indicates that planets with civilizations exist separately, with spaces filled with imaginary energy that only Aeons and their emanators can navigate. Galaxy is employed to simplify human comprehension. Humans use galaxy as a substitute for world because it helps them grasp the vastness of the universe. And when they say galaxy, it confuses us all. Himiko's dialogue reveals that the concept of traveling between worlds was inspired by witnessing the power of the eons. Therefore, the term galaxy is employed to make this complex concept more accessible to humans. To summarize, the imaginary tree is the structural blueprint of the universe. Each leaf represents an individual star system. Worlds are not isolated, they coexist within the same universe, represented by the imaginary tree. While some factions have the power to travel between worlds, normal space travel can't breach the imaginary energy barrier that separates them. And our journey through the lore of the Honkai universe leaves us with many mysteries, such as the Stellaron Hunters' Eon powers and their deity. Elio is a key figure here, possibly an emanator of an unknown Eon or the Eon of Finality. But that's all from me today, folks. I hope this breakdown helped you grasp these complex concepts better. Understanding them is crucial to decipher the events in Star Rail and the Honkai universe. And if you have any questions, come ask me live. I stream every week at twitch.tv/UfiTV, and be sure to like this video and subscribe for more Honkai lore. Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below because I do love reading them. And once again, I am Ufi, and thank you so much for watching.